All right, we are keeping an eye on the cabinet meeting at Camp David, expected to start any moment now. But one expected participant we're particularly interested in is Todd Blanche, President Trump's pick to be Attorney General, of course. Blanche's confirmation is effectively stuck right now, held up by two outspoken Republican senators with concerns about Trump's nearly $1.8 billion so-called anti-weaponization fund and a free pass for Trump and his family on past, present, and possibly future tax audits. One of the holdouts, Senator John Cornyn, met with Blanche last night and told MS Now while the meeting was constructive, they're not there yet. But the friction inside the president's party does not stop there. We're also following controversy surrounding GOP Congressman Max Miller. His wife, Emily Moreno, the daughter of Senator Bernie Moreno, has now filed a restraining order against Miller. In court filings, she alleges Miller had physical and verbal altercations with her attorney. The two are in the middle of a custody battle, and in those filings, Moreno makes frightening allegations. She says Miller threw hot water on her, held a gun to her head, and physically abused their 2-year-old daughter. Miller denies any wrongdoing. Let's bring in MS Now Capitol Hill reporter Kevin Fry, and MS Now senior White House reporter Vaughn Hilliard is still here with me. Kevin, I'm going to start with you, and I want to start with what is happening with Max Miller. I'm going to go elsewhere first, but we're going to return to that because this is a story that has broken my heart and driven me a little bit crazy. Bring us up to speed first on where things start with Blanche and Senators Cornyn and Tillis, though. This dynamic between the president and some of the Republicans who he very recently burned.
Right. So, I mean, talks are ongoing, clearly, as you just read that quote that our colleague Jack Fitzpatrick got from Senator Cornyn this morning, that the conversations are constructive, but they're not quite frankly there yet. And these two alone are enough to deny him an ability to advance out of the Judiciary Committee. The timing on this is all a bit up in the air. If they are able to somehow come to a deal to put some constraints on that immunity deal involving IRS tax audits, and at the same time try to get language that eliminates that anti-weaponization fund, that 1776 fund that could go to, for example, January 6 rioters, then perhaps that we could see an advancement as early as next week. But keep in mind, the Senate's supposed to be gone next week. So procedurally, would we even see a vote on final confirmation? Again, this is some hypotheticals until after the August recess. That's where the timeline is looking like right now. The other thing to keep in mind in the mix of all of this is that it's not just Tillis and Cornyn that Blanche is having to grapple with here. There are other Republicans in the broader Senate that if his nomination were to advance to the floor, he would also have to offer some reassurances there. I'm looking at, for example, Senator Bill Cassidy, who just the other day was telling reporters that he's concerned about weaponization of the Justice Department. He wants reassurances, and he is in the listening and learning mode, as he told reporters.
You know, Vaughn, the president posted on Truth Social, as the president is wont to do. But this one was a long rant about John Cornyn, and also once again sort of paints the people who were supposed to benefit from this anti-weaponization fund, these American patriots, as he calls them, as though they are victims, of course, of the Biden administration's actions. Does the president realize that this might not help him with Cornyn? Is this the right strategy to take, I guess, if you're trying to get that senator back into the fold right now?
You've got to realize it now. But this is how the president has operated in politics for 10 years. And I think that's the part that we have to understand. For Donald Trump, it's so often, most of the time, about power. And he has effectively been able to make the Republican Party in his image over the last 10 years by, if you walk out of line, I'm going to blast you, I'm going to primary you, and I'm going to see that you are no longer serving in public office. And most of the time it has worked. Jeff Flake, Bob Corker, Liz Cheney, Tom Rice, Adam Kinzinger.
Oh, you have that list ready.
That list is really long. And it's usually worked for him. But here at this moment, in July of 2026, right, doing that inside of your party, what's the purpose? You already have majorities in the Senate and the House, narrow majorities. And what ultimately happened as a result is he isn't going to necessarily have Ken Paxton next month or later this fall. He may not even get him next year if Tallarico pulls off a victory. And so almost he played too heavy of a hand here. And now this is a moment that John Cornyn, when he was asked yesterday whether he's a little bit more independent because he lost his primary, he said, well, you've taken notice, which suggests from him that he is finally taking action, perhaps that he's thought he should have taken in the past. Because as Kevin knows from walking those hallways, dating back to 2017, I've been up there every once in a while, and Cornyn's not the guy that you go to thinking you're going to get a quote. So the fact that Jack Fitzpatrick, our colleague, just got a quote on Capitol Hill just shows that there's another senator, not named Susan Collins or Lisa Murkowski, that are willing to provide some counter to Donald Trump right now.
Kevin, I want to turn now to these disturbing allegations against Congressman Max Miller. And, you know, we've seen reporters in recent days try to track down lawmakers, colleagues of his, and ask them to, you know, on the record, say whether or not they support Congressman Miller. He's in the middle of this re-election race. Ohio's Republican Governor Mike DeWine said that he's troubled by these allegations, but that it's up to the voters. Do you get a sense that there's any movement here? You know, this is a very Republican seat, but actually this race is a little bit tighter than many think it should have been. And, you know, I had this conversation with Annie Carney of the New York Times the other day. Like, I get for Republicans, control of the House is important, and Mike Johnson's trying to hold on to what he's got here. But, you know, allegations that someone might have put a 2-year-old's life at risk, you might like to think that to some people that matters more than control of the House. I don't know. What are you hearing?
Yeah, I mean, a couple strings to pull out there. One, and this is perhaps not all that surprising if you're just looking at this through a partisan lens, we have seen, for example, the Democratic Women's Caucus come out and say the Ethics Committee needs to be investigating this matter, absolutely, calling these allegations deeply disturbing and saying Congress should not be ignoring them. At the same time, and obviously Mike Johnson is not around this week, the Speaker of the House, so we've not had a chance to really pester him on this issue, but these allegations have been percolating in different forms over the last several weeks and months. And when he's been pressed on why, for example, Max Miller, or there's another Republican from Florida who's also got some baggage, shall we say, he has basically deferred to the Ethics Committee process when he's been asked why are these individuals not kicked out of the chamber at this time. Now, when it comes to the pure raw politics of this is a district that Democrats are certainly targeting in this year's midterms. They have a candidate there, I believe Brian Poindexter is his name, with kind of a working class background that they believe is going to give Max Miller a run for his money. But we will see. But having this baggage out there and making this kind of a center point, even if it's not the center point of the campaign, can only certainly help the Democrats.
And Vaughn, you know, a lot of people have questions about Senator Bernie Moreno in all of this. He is Emily Moreno's father, of course. He is a sitting senator in Ohio, knows Max Miller, of course, very well. Anyone who was watching the Fauci hearing the other day got to hear him kind of go on an expletive-laden rant and express to Fauci directly just how angry he was with him over, you know, everything that happened during the pandemic. But when it comes to his own daughter, I want to read you his most recent statement. Senator Moreno's top priority is the safety and well-being of his daughter and granddaughter. While he does not litigate these matters in the media or respond to baseless public attacks, he will do whatever it takes to ensure a just outcome for his family. Why so angry, so ready to criticize Dr. Fauci, but so little to say about somebody who held a gun, allegedly, to his daughter's head?
I think that is a question in this moment in American politics that absolutely should be asked. I'm glad you're asking it. I think that it warrants answers. And the hard part is I'm not sure when we get those answers.
What do you think it says about D.C. that we can't get those answers?
Right. And I mean, Emily was helping, I know her father during the 2020 Republican convention, lining up some interviews when I interviewed him on camera at the time. She is her own independent woman. And what she, as a mother, is going through right now is horrific. And knowing that she finds herself in the middle of the storyline that everybody in America is now tuning into, while her former husband is an active sitting member of Congress, it's difficult. I will say that Donald Trump endorsed Moreno in a competitive primary in 2024. He ended up winning, taking the Ohio Senate seat. That Ohio Senate seat is not a given. There's another competitive Senate race here. Sherrod Brown is trying to take it back here this November. There is a narrow majority, and I don't mean to suggest that this is a reason why, but I think that is an issue that the family is taking on here publicly, and one that I wish I had an answer to, but frankly, I don't.
Yeah, well, all that you and Kevin shared, that's very important context. I don't know that it's going to make anybody feel better about it, but it's important context. Vaughn Hilliard, Kevin Fry, it's always good to see the two of you. Thank you so much.